Women are taking leading roles in the South African National Defence Force. 22 years ago, there was only one female Major General in the Defence Force. Today, it has 6 and 46 women Brigadier Generals. Well, that's according to Defence and Military Veterans Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula. But what challenges do women in the military face? Now, Colonel Nokwanda Dondolo, who is a senior staff officer in the South African Military Health Services, joins us. Good evening, and thank you very much, Colonel, for joining us this evening. Perhaps you may want to take us back to how you got into the army in the first place. You went into exile. You were an MK operative. You trained in a number of countries across the continent.
Good evening, Vuyo. Good evening to your listeners. I am Nokwanda Tondolo. I was born in a village in Eastern Cape, and I studied in the village, finished in Blythood, then I joined the ANC, then I went to exile. Coming back, I joined the Defence Force. Since then, I've been moving through ranks. You start from the junior ranks and you grow up until you get to be a colonel like myself.
What do you do now?
At the present moment, I am working in the South African Military Health Service, and I am a foreign relations officer.
What exactly does that job entail?
That is about defense diplomacy. So when I say defense diplomacy, we take the cue from the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, and there we focus mainly on defense. What are the interests of defense relating to that specific country? As you know, international relations is focusing on relations with different countries, but then defense is only focusing on the interest of defense. So my role there, I am responsible for making sure that defense diplomacy is flowing between the South African Military Health Services and those specific countries that we have interest on, or they have interest on the South African Military Health Services.
Does that mean that you get to assist and be assisted by other countries we have relations with?
Yes. For instance, we are able to train people from other countries, as well as they will be able to train our people. For instance, now we focus mainly on the SADC countries, followed by Africa, Europe, and the rest of the world. So in Africa, we are interested, like you have said. I also trained in Africa. I've been to Nigeria, so that I learn a lot about how the defense in Nigeria is operating, and many other countries that we are having relationships with.
But I know, the guns aren't completely silent, but as time goes on, people question whether we still need armies for that matter.
Yes, there will always be a need for military. And there's one thing the public should understand, that military is not only about fighting wars. There are other roles that women especially are engaged on behind the curtains. Like? As I have said, like being in diplomacy. That's another way of in engaging with other countries.
Now, according to the numbers we have, there's 22 years ago, there was one female Major General in the Defence Force. Today, 6 and 46 women Brigadier Generals. Is that enough?
Well, that's not my turf, as we call it in the military. That's not my terrain. But I can safely say we have managed as women to get in there and move and be part of everything that is happening in the military. Yes, we've got critics that are saying it's 20 years. This is not enough. But then they don't know what is the real situation inside. Say, for instance, you don't just move and get to be a colonel. You start from the beginning, being the junior, basic. Besides the fact that you've got your line function, what we call line function, you also have to have your military courses also together. So that takes time. For me to be a colonel, it took really a good time.
But that would apply to men as well.
Yes.
So
yes,
that can then be an excuse. I mean, the fact that the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans had to say today, or remind all and sundry, that women are ready to take leading roles in the defense force. It means that the point she's registering is that it is not happening currently. And you and I are having this conversation on the same day we've just had numbers from the Employment Equity report that say 65.5% of senior jobs in this country are actually occupied by white men. So this is an anomalous situation that has to change, and we can't argue patience and say it takes time.
Okay, I understand, but then this is a totally different environment. As I have said to you, you cannot be promoted today and be a general and lead the defense force. There is these processes that need to be followed. As I have said, you need to have your military courses completed. At the same time, your functional courses to be completed at the same time. At that time, you are also a mother, you are also a wife to somebody. So those are multiple roles that you have to go through as a woman to be able to be in those. Yes, I can agree with you that one day would love to have a chief of SANDF that is a woman, but that takes time.
Now, often, I'm sure you're familiar with this argument where people say, even though, it shouldn't be the responsibility of women to make sure that, that these wrongs that we're talking about are in fact corrected. But often I've had other women say, you do have a responsibility to make sure that where you have been able to make some inroads, grab a few more behind you to make sure that you at least take them with, or at the very least pave their way. Would you say that in your corner you've been able to do that, and women around you do in fact do that?
Yes,
as well?
Yes, there's a program in the Defence Force that I can proudly say that is being monitored by Equal Opportunities, where each woman must multiply herself, meaning you will have your proteges, and your proteges are being monitored. Say, for instance, you've got not only in your line function, but also in another line functions where you will have to monitor the progress of other women. Say, for instance, you are therefore having people that must grow. You monitor that, even if that person is not, that lady is not working directly with you. You would know that she is there, but I must make sure that she has done that, mentor her on that. She must understand the military. She must do certain things. She must make sure that she doesn't do anything wrong so that she can get to the next level. Because in the military, you get to the next level after you have been approved, having been the correct candidate.
Well, may you continue to do that. Happy Women's Month, and thank you for coming through.
Thank you, Will. Thank you to your listeners.